Welcome back to the Rich Marriage Podcast with your hosts, Jason and Jennifer Hall. We're here with our special guests, Tabitha and Corey Davis. Thank y'all so much.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yo, we are back for part 2. If y'all did not see part 1, you are going to want to stop here and go back and check that out right now because it was amazing. We're back with part 2. And babe, what are we going to be talking about?
We're talking about parenting. What does a rich marriage look like with parenting? We have 5 kids ourselves, and guess what? Our special guest has 5 kids as well.
Yes.
Got a lot to talk about.
That's so funny.
So yeah, how is that, man? How is that life? I know for us it was really, really hard, especially in the beginning years, the diapers and all that. It was hard, all through the years, right? Teens and all of that.
All the seasons.
Yes, all of them. How do you maintain a marriage? It's difficult with kids, right? Or is it easy to y'all? Maybe y'all have all the answers.
Enlighten us.
No, I mean, y'all are already enlightened with 5, right?
They didn't even put it in a good book. The Lord didn't even put it in their little manual.
They don't come with instructions, and then they all different. It was a fun time. As we look back, I'm like, wow, I remember finding different plays, different strategic ways to find the cheap diapers that were actually better than the other diapers. So, but yeah, it was interesting to see all of them grow up. Even interesting to see them today, as far as from a parenting perspective. I remember even Destiny. I can remember Destiny having a little red bow inside. They gave her a red bow inside the ICU, the NICU unit, because they said that she was making so much noise. And if you look at her personality right now, she is the most spontaneous one. It's like, she still got that red bow. Red bow. You see the quiet ones, the loud ones. They were fun to actually. To actually bring up though, and train them up, train them up. So, but it's always a constant training up though. So it never stops. The good, the bad, the indifferent, it all works out.
And my pregnancies wasn't easy. You mentioned being in the NICU unit. All of my children were premature babies. Wow. So 4 of them were born in March. Only one was born. March, it was born. But they wasn't supposed to be born in March, but they were supposed to be born in March.
Oh, yes.
That's how I used to say it. They were supposed to be born in March. So they were difficult. So I don't know if that's anyone's issue in trying to conceive and trying to hold in a child till they're due. We've been there. And we've grown and we lived it.
Yeah.
So, our first one, CJ, his placenta had ripped inside me. Wow. And then I had toxemia, I was blown up as a balloon. Wow. And couldn't figure out, why am I so swollen? And I'm always cramping, and I'm in so much pain. And he was in the military still, so I had midwives, and I vouched to a midwife. They were amazing. Yes. Okay, they were amazing. It was like having 4 or 5 different moms and aunties in the room. Yes. And I loved it. All the way down to my Zoe. She stayed in the NICU unit longer. Wow. And I actually had postpartum with her. Really bad. I can remember a time. Remember when I was sitting down on the couch and I just started crying, and my oldest boy was they were looking at me. Both of them were
"What's going on?
What is going on?" I was watching. I don't know if it was a commercial or what, but just broke down and was just crying. I was like, "I'm okay. It's all right. You're gonna be all right. Where's your dad?" Having those moments of just the ups and downs of just a woman and hormones and feeling sad. My child is not here. But I want my child, but I don't want my child. Just, I've been there and had to have hey, look, I think I'm having postpartum. Just check on me every now and again. And again, communicating while you're in those seasons, right? Knowing that I'm not okay. And I need to let him know that I'm not okay. Because he was working. He was off for a little while at the beginning. But, your time is up. You got to come back to work. Yeah. So he went back to work. But I was like, hey, call and check on me. See if I'm okay. type of scenario.
Yep.
But each child was different, like he mentioned. But are definitely a blessing.
Yeah.
They're a blessing to us because I wanted them so bad.
Yes.
Wow. So how was that for you as a husband, knowing that this was going on, and then just having to, again, with the 5, we've been through different transitions, right? Even the going back to work, you know, is a whole thing in itself, is a whole shift in that particular season, right? How did you all maintain your marriage and maintain the rich marriage and continue to build that through those times, through those seasons of, you know, even the babies being in the NICU and the postpartum and the different things? What are some of the things that kind of held it together?
I think it's like kind of focusing on us again together and making sure, like, because you know, men doesn't go through postpartum, so it's like kind of like you know, and understanding that there's differences that, you know, where I can support her, things like that, and just staying focused on making sure that, you know, for me, it was at the time, it was already focusing on making sure the family was getting taken care of. She didn't have to worry about, you know, money or going back to work. So that was part of how, like, for me, I kind of step in there. And I know most men will probably step in just about the same way because we're providers, but at the same time, just understanding what she's going through is the most important piece.
Yes. I love that.
So that was again like the foundation, because before babies came, we were there and needed to know how to coexist, how to be able to help one another in that time. So it was, again, him being intentional about, okay, I heard what she's saying, and not just listen, let me be proactive and try to do what I can do. And it being okay, a safe place for me to communicate. Maybe it's not enough, you know, or maybe we need to do something different. It might not being enough may not be the right word, but being able to kind of talk it out. And for it to be a safe place to, okay, let's try to work this out and see how. And even if it's, I don't know how to make you better. You know, I don't know, you know, I'm doing everything that I feel like I can do at this point, and just calling on God, you know, calling on our pastor, like, I need my brothers and sisters to arm up. I need you to know what's going on as well. So I know in that aspect, that was good, having a little bit of a village and being open.
Yeah, that's good.
Love that so much. I hear just key components in Christ, of course, right? Communication. I love that you said, like, look, I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
Right? You being a safe and soft space for her to feel comfortable to say that. You don't always have that in marriage, you know? And then community.
Yeah, that's huge.
Community is big, you know?
Big.
Be able to talk to other people about what you're going through, and then lean on them for support, or even like prayer when you need it. Because, I mean, we try to stay, you know, you try to stay strong in every moment, but there's going to be moments in time where your strength is not going to be there. And it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That's why, like, even in the Bible, God says, put your cares upon me. I mean, I'll give you rest. But we want to do it, but we also have to be the person to raise our hands and say, you know, I need help. And I'm not okay. And it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's think is when we hide it, is that's when we have, you know, things kind of fall apart and kind of go disarray.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to your resilience in your marriage, you know, your personality and your character traits. I think one of the biggest actually blessings is to go through adversity in the beginning stages of your relationship, because you find out who you really are and who's for, you know, you're for each other. And I think about, like, even us back in 2017, it was literally during Hurricane Harvey, we were having the hardest time of our marriage.
Wow.
And we went to Christian counseling, and we went, you know, leaned on people for prayer, but it was needed to, you know, thrive and be rich now. So I think resilience, and I think those trials and tribulations come to make you strong.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they show, and don't take it for granted, because a lot of people, they take for granted, like, okay, we've been married this many years, but what have you gone through? And so when you've gone through something and now you're the fruit of the product, it's like, man, this is rich.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jason, I kind of think about, I read a book. It was called "The Obstacle Is the Way." It's kind of like, hey, that obstacle that you're going through, and that's really what I was going through. Like that adversity is the way. And I think about like even in the Bible, like David slayed the lion. I think he came back and it was like honey in there, and it was the nutrients for what his next level step. Like it's kind of like the battle. It's kind of like that. When you're defeating that enemy, you're getting the nutrients and fed for the next thing. Yeah. And a lot of times we don't think about it that way. We get stronger. And I think that's where the strength comes in. Like, it's stronger and stronger. And we look at even adversities in marriage, like even the tough time you're talking about with Harvey, no doubt we're going to have those seasons where things just don't seem right, seem disconnected. It's just like you still got to figure out, okay, well, how's my relationship with God? How's my relationship with my wife or my husband? Yeah. And, all that still dictates and you can see where there's that misalignment. But at the same time, I think, now I kind of look at any adversity I go through now today is God is giving me food for my next thing. So when I defeat this enemy, it becomes my nutrients for my next level and next stage in life. Yeah. And that relates to our marriage too. It makes us stronger. And then, because we've been through a lot in the marriage, and with the kids, we've been through a lot. So, and that's even leaving and cleaving from our, parents and people around us that, you're kind of pressured to not do that, but the Bible, the Bible is clear on that, and the reason is because it becomes a rift in the marriage. Yeah, and those are tough. We had to make those tough choices, tough decisions to actually make it work. Yeah,
that's good. That's really wanting it to work in a healthy way, right? Because you can make it work just throwing stuff together with some duct tape and hoping it outlasts, your lifehood, but that's not what it meant to be. Yeah. So
you can invest in it and have a rich marriage.
Yeah.
And not just make it work. You can just make it work. Right? And just coast, or it can be rich.
Or it can be rich. It's your choice. It's your choice. You got a choice. You can have a rich one. You can have a poor marriage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true.
What you want to do?
I love that.
It's the same tools that we used when they were little that kind of helped us when they started to become teenagers, because that's a whole new different season, right?
Yes, it is.
That's when they're no longer, they're in that rift of wanting to be an adult, but still wanted the privileges of a child. And then when it's inconvenient to them, because they're selfish, right? They're selfish. My nature. They're selfish. My nature. They're selfish. We've been there. But once they found out, like, okay, I want to operate in adulthood, but still want the privilege of a child. And then when you try to treat them like an adult, and they're like, hold on, push back.
I didn't mean all the way then.
And just learning how to parent adult children, because we have 2 adult children who are at home. Well, 3 now, because 1 graduated last year. So now we have 3 that is at home, and trying to just operate on treating them like an adult, but they're still at home. And then we have our younger kids who are watching the adult children be at home, and that being different as well, and having some collisions. We've had a lot of learning that we had to learn, and they had to learn, and it was necessary, right, for everyone's growth, no matter what environment they're in, and being a safe place. So,
because it's at the same time you still want to have them to be able to launch out, but then of course for us, they're trying to get there, so and they will be there, but it's being able to help them navigate and get through life, and I think that's important because. Once they do launch, you want them to launch out successfully.
That's the whole goal, right? So you start looking at that instead of, my kids are still at home or whatever have you. Like, hey, I want them to leave successfully. That's what, as a parent, that's your whole goal, right? Absolutely. You want to make sure they have the fundamentals, they have the tools necessary to be successful in life. Right. And for it to be okay, like, hey, my door is always open if need be, for you to come on back home, and it's okay. It's okay in your failure, and be not what's the right word I want to say? To be okay that they're back home and be able to help them. Like that's a key thing, because every family members they don't have the space, they can't help and stuff like that. So I was trying to figure out the right word to say it, but be excited that you're able to be that person for them.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Not everybody gets to. We change our language. Like, this is not something that I have to do.
Yeah.
This is something that we get to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is. It's
There's-
only for a season. It's only for a certain amount of time. And not everybody gets that opportunity or in a position to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So I love that. And that
That's
approach, that mindset,
it changes
shifts everything.
Yeah. Your whole attitude
Shifts everything.
on the XYZs, it changes it.
Yep.
Yeah, one thing we recently did, we have a high school senior, and we had great discussion, and she decided to stay home and go to college. Stay in the house,
Go
to college. She can work part-time and all that. And everybody's pathway is different, right? So one thing that we told her, you're not going into college debt. You're not. Like, we're breaking that cycle. We decided.
Yeah.
And so we're able to, thank God, by the grace of God, we're able to easily pay for her school, and then she can work and pay for her essential. I ain't paying for her nails, y'all. But look, I ain't paying for your nails and lashes and all that. I'm gonna pay for your education. I'm gonna pay for your food. But you're gonna pay for that. So she's gonna still learn how to be an adult. And she's like, "Oh, this costs a lot of money." I'm like, "Yeah, it costs a lot of money."
Life.
Yeah, life. There you go. And teach her about finances and raise her up. And like you said, when she's ready, then she can be released. And so it's this. Instead of this status quo, you got to do it this way, maybe college is not for you. I don't know, but let's help you mold and shape into the woman that God calls you to be. And that's the goal.
That's
With
big,
the healthy boundaries. That sounds like healthy boundaries to me.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, this is what I'm able to do, what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Then everything else, we need to figure out a way to do that. What makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's okay for you to learn the hard lessons.
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah, you want this, but you paid for your nails and your lashes. Well, look like you're going to have to wait till your next paycheck. Huh? Yes, yeah. That sucks, right? Yeah.
And to your point about having a kid in the house, or even us, we have one of ours that went out and came back. And I think there's a lot of undue pressure that we can put on ourselves as parents because we have this thought of what it should be like, right? And what would other people, it's like more of the fear of criticism at that point. What would other people think about me because I have this person in the house and they supposed to be launched? And I went through that, in my mind. I mean, and I had to defeat that in my own mind and not let that pressure make me put undue pressure on him as he's trying to get back into the swing of things. He's gonna be all right. He has a long life to live. He has success that's coming down his way. Yeah. But I think as parents, we got to be very mindful of that too. Our path is our path. We're not. It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Back we used to say that, right? Yeah. But we can do that too in our own parenting of what we believe our parenting should look like versus what it really is and reality is, and our support mechanism. And having them to be able to launch out the right way.
Yeah, that's good. And I love, the fact that you all have invested in and you're committed to building a rich marriage, that flows right into the parenting. What do you hope that your rich marriage is modeling to your children? What do you hope that it's modeling to them, that it's showing them, instilling into them?
Yeah, the values of what to look for. For me, if it's my sons, they need to know what to look for into their next wife, or their wife. Not next wife. I was like next wife. Their wife.
The wife.
The wife that they're gonna have. Right?
Speaking of
that one, the one.
And look, if you got divorced, you can actually make it happen, but they're not married yet. All right, and for me, I want to model what a good husband would look like for my daughters. So I think that's important, and that's, I just kind of go back to that world-class father. I remember we talked about that on the last episode. World-class father was being one of those things where I want to be able to say, hey, what does a world-class father look like? What does a world-class dad look like? So they can say, man, I want my kids to grow up having a world-class dad, a world-class father. Not comparing me to their husband. I do not want them to do that and cause rifts. Yeah. But I want them also at the same time to not settle for less than. And I think and that kind of pushes me to model to them to not settle for less than.
Love that so much.
That's good, babe.
That's so good.
That's good,
I love
babe.
it.
So good.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah, not settle.
Amazing.
Not settle. And I hope they get to see that they see the ups and the downs.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
I know in some areas you're like, I've never seen my parent like get upset or be mad. This is weird, you know.
Yeah.
You're like, really? You've never seen them get mad? That's awkward. That's awkward. Not at all. And I'm gonna tell a brief story. When we first got married, and I did leftovers. Okay, we had leftovers at my house.
Oh, yeah.
This man here, mine, said, "What is this?" And I was like, "What we had last night." He was like, "We can't eat that." And I said, "Why not?"
I got a rule.
He said,
3 days, you know.
"Oh, this is day 2." Okay,
the next day.
Sometimes it moves to 2. I don't know.
yeah, this was day 2. So on day 2, he said, "It's bad." And I said, "Well, why is it bad?" I put it in the refrigerator. I packed it away. Why is it bad?
Oh my gosh.
He was like, "We can't eat that." And I was like, "I'm going to eat it.
I know. That's
If you
right.
want to fix yourself something, you can. I'm going to eat this."
That's right.
He fixed himself something. So therefore, we had more left over because it was just 3 of us. Baby boy, he was an infant, and us 2. So we still had leftovers.
Now you got 2-3 days left.
So day 3, he's really upset.
Oh, yeah. They do.
My mom never gave us leftovers. What? Never? Let me call Mrs.
All right.
Davis
See what's going
and
on.
see what I'm doing wrong. Because I called my mom and I lived in our house, so we had leftovers.
I mean,
And
what are we
we're just
talking about here?
Where's this guy?
come to find out, that and chicken grease, that was another thing. You do not reuse chicken grease because
You know, at the time. Right?
right. No, throw that whole grease
out.
away.
It's gotta
No,
go.
babe, what are we doing? It has seasoning in it. He's learned because he's an excellent cook now. But it has seasoning, it has flavor. Why are we throwing it away? My mom never. Oh,
Yeah.
let me call mom.
My theory was debunked by my own mom. So,
She says what happens
Apparently.
is they're never, when they were kiddos, they were never in the house watching her cook. So what she did was she
Just recooked
jazzed
some
it. Yeah,
stuff,
she just recooked it. She jazzed it up, and it was potentially another meal. Like they ate all the sides, so they had different sides, possibly. She said, but absolutely they had leftovers.
that's how you do. Now we
like
talk
that.
about rich marriage food.
Rich marriage food.
Rejazz that stuff up.
Listen.
So where that going is that you should never look at someone else's marriage and say, this is what my marriage should look like, because it didn't work. It didn't fit with ours. You can learn from it. Like, okay, yeah, Tabitha, there is an expiration where you should throw that grease away. You're like, oh, okay. That's good information. But
3 days on leftovers. I still stay with this.
I'm a 3 day.
yeah.
3 days.
Yeah, me too. After that, it's like I had to cook something else. But I mean,
Find a
come
move
on.
on.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's good. I love that you said that. And we can tie that right into parenting as well, right? You started off saying something that I so appreciate about all 5 of ours. They're all totally different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no like cookie cutter. There's no box.
Yep.
Right? And to be able to be in the position as parents where it's like, look, it's not a one size fits all here, not even within our home, but even outside of that says this is the one way that,
Yep.
this has to be
I think-
done.
I think you use that phrase, this is a way, not the way.
Yeah, I like that.
And I remember that one of my mentors used to always say that even about, just doing things. It's like, hey, this is a way, not the way. And sometimes we get so caught up in what we think the way is that we forget that there's always a way of doing things, And that way could be what's going to allow you to be the rich parent and rich marriage and get those riches in your life.
That's so good.
Wow.
And there is one or something that's different with each child being different is that oldest baby girl, teenage years, not too long ago. No, it's been a year. So I guess we can tie it into it being just a praise report. Wanted to commit suicide. And so parenting that and how to operate in that was just very difficult. Something that you would just can't even like imagine, like how
paradigm of being a parent.
Yes.
That rich,
Like,
remember that world-class dad.
Yes.
what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
You know, did I not protect you? And all these things that come across, you know, are we not communicating, talking, and that coming up and being a problem for ourselves while she's having her own issues and trying to work through those.
And that's the reality of life now is dealing. They're dealing with stuff that we don't even know they're dealing with. You could look at them and then think that they're not, but they are.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was back last January. You know, actually a year ago. And I remember even this weekend we were at church on the 25th, and I'm always reflecting back. Well, not always, but I reflected back on that week. And then I remember that week was that day she was inside one of the hospital. And we couldn't go visit her because you only can visit in that particular hospital at like certain days on certain hours. Because they want them to be isolated from everywhere. But then that same day though, she was at church and we were standing in the back. And I know we were trying to take a picture. We know I'm taking a picture at church. I was like, I can't take a picture right now. I'm looking at her. She's jumping, praising God. And it's like I could just feel like that different. It's just a difference.
Yeah.
So even like right now, she's witnessing, bringing people to church. She's going to church camps. She's always want to be involved. She's part of the church leadership as far as the youth.
Yeah.
But can't be any prouder of her. But you go through things. And as parents inside of a family, you're going to have the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns. Yeah. But are you willing to be there for the long term?
Yeah.
And for the longevity and not count yourself out? Because I wanted to count myself out.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, I wanted to. Because it broke my whole paradigm of who I believe I was in front of the face of my kids. And then who I believe I was as a husband to my wife.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
And just keeping it, keeping God first, and just keep pursuing Him, and think about the promises that God spoke to you when you first had that baby. That first life, and just saying, you know, God, you promised me this child. You know, why is my child going through these things? What am I lacking? What am I missing? And still pursuing God and trusting Him and speaking the word, speaking life upon the situation, in spite of what it looked like. And keeping communication, even when she was shut down and she didn't want to speak, and just keeping communication was...
You had to. And it was tough for me. Like, there was times when I tried to hug her and she told me she didn't deserve a hug. She didn't deserve to eat. That was after she got out the hospital. So it's like I had to rebuild that relationship. And today our relationship is stronger than ever. Like she sometimes hangs out with us, she sits with us, she wants to go everywhere with us. So
I can't get her to stop touching me, like, hey, but she didn't want to, you know,
at all. Like, even if I touch her on the shoulder, before she moved like that. So as a parent, like, you may be watching this and you may have a kid that's going through that, and you can relate to person, I want you to hug them and things like that, but just know it could get better. All right, that's what I'm saying. Just know that it could get better. And we're all going through something. We just, sometimes we're so good. We're better at hiding it from others than other people are.
And you said that we're better at hiding. I was very intentional to make sure I didn't hide. You know, that was something that felt like so shameful. And it was on a Sunday we were supposed to serve, and I had to call and say, we won't be able to be there. Something's going on with my daughter. We got to take her to we're in the hospital with her.
Wow.
You know, it could be like a shameful thing. And then for them to ask you and be intentional when they ask you, are you okay? What's going on? And say, this is what's going on. I don't know why. I don't know where. I don't know what I'm going to do. And being able to reach out to close friends who you call family and say, can you just stop and pray right now? Can you stop and pray right now? Can you pray for her? Pray for us. Can you pray for the kiddos who are at home? We're going to have to go home and go tell them because it was in the middle of the night. And we're going to have to go home and explain this. to them and
Mhm.
not allow guilt, shame, and then hiding, trying to cover up.
Yeah.
Being transparent, calling my pastor, calling the people who we consider family.
Yep.
And we knew that was a safe place who wasn't gonna pray on us per se, right? But pray for us and help walk us through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
First off, thank you all so much for your transparency and your vulnerability to share that.
Yes.
So many families are navigating that in silence.
Oh yeah. I can imagine.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Yes.
And man, thank God
Yes.
for where she is today.
Probably.
Yes.
We've been talking about how our struggles make us stronger, and God wastes nothing.
No.
And so I cannot wait to see what He's going
I
to
said,
do
I dare
in and through
not
her.
keep this to myself when not he's. I feel like it's a gift to give to others who may be
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and trying to operate, how to move, how to talk to their spouse or their kiddos
Yes.
about it,
Yeah.
Yes.
or adult children, because we had adult children in the house. So
Right.
helping the boys navigate, because they're not, emotionally tied. Sometimes it could be like, hey,
Yeah.
why, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And kind of just talking to them and walking them through it too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're raising kids in a totally different time than what we were living in, and they're going through things that we never thought that we would navigate, right?
right.
Yeah.
As we get ready to close out, what would you say to the married couple, the parent who is navigating this with their child right now, as you sit on the other side of it? What would you say to them in this moment?
So I would first bring out a box of tissues and say, I know how you feel. It may not be exactly, the situation may not be exact cookie cutter, but I've been there. It's your child. It's your loved one. I would reach out to God. Lean back on His words. Reach out on His promises that He promised you, that He promised your child. Trust Him in the process. Trust Him in the process, because sometimes it could be moment by moment, minute by minute, day by day, week by week. And it's okay to not be okay. And find the right help for you, whether that's through a pastor, through counseling, being able to have a community. Find one if you don't have one to help you navigate your feelings. Maybe finances too, because mental health it's real, and insurance doesn't cover
Pay for it
Yeah.
at all.
at all.
We found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
So,
My goodness.
And find the resources and just keep asking questions and trusting God.
yeah. I'll just say stay close to them. Listen to them. Hear their side. Get out of the thought process that we know what they're dealing with, and then just kind of learn, seek to understand. And that's what I had to do. I just had to seek to understand. I had to even watch the words that I say, even watch the thoughts that I thought, because once you go down that road, your mind can take you to a spot where you don't want to. So you got to even focus on the good, focus on the faith, and and just staying open as a parent to be able to talk. Like even in the incident that happens, even at school, like when I'm in the car with Destiny, I was ask, like, hey, how did today go? How are you feeling about today? I'm trying to kind of dig a little deeper. I have to dig a little deeper. What is your thoughts about what happened? And it's just hearing her out and knowing that they all have different personalities and they're not the same, and honoring that. And just like what Tabitha said, get help. Even get help for yourself.
Yes.
That you can have somebody to talk to, and then get help for them.
And have healthy boundaries. That's most important, because you can have a guilt trip on why you're not doing something, but for the long run, for their future, it's going to benefit them.
Yeah.
So if it's, I can't give in right now, I can't move this boundary that I'm putting up or was recommended, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but it's necessary. It's necessary for a healthy lifestyle in the long run.
Yep.
So good.
Wow. It's incredible. Thank y'all for your vulnerability, your transparency, your humility, and courage to share. You know, everybody watching, that's not easy.
No.
To share, to open yourself. That's a testimony. That's a ministry. That's, you know, willingness to open up. And I pray that it blesses a lot of families, a lot of marriages, what we've just heard. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rich Marriage Podcast, Part 2. With the Davises here. They've been so gracious to share their time and everything with us. We're going to Part 3 next. So tune in for the next one. God bless each and every one of you. Subscribe and share this with a loved one, especially the testimonies you've shared, the testimony. You really should share that with others because we're all going through. There's a lot of people, mental health is, it's rampant these days, and especially in children. So God bless. Tune in next time. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Rich Marriage Podcast with Jason and Jennifer Hawes, the host, and the Davises. Thank you so much as our special guests. God bless you.